want
Stanley.
we're now live streaming, so I just wanted
Oh,
to let you
we're
know.
ready to go? All
Yeah.
right. Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. We do have a quorum, and we'll begin our agenda with recognizing the fact that we are now a full board with our new member, Eric Brent, who has joined us via appointment. And we are very, very glad to have his participation, and we were just mentioning our dedication to the greater good through our civil service, collectively getting to where we can serve the citizens of Maryland in full capacity. So, as a board, so thank you very much for accepting the appointment um, and to join the Maryland State Board of Election.
Terrific.
And
Thank you, Mr.
yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, Ms. Butler, and Ms. Jackson Stanley. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve, and I appreciate the warm welcome that you've provided. It's truly an honor. I look forward to learning from each of you and contributing as thoughtfully as humanly possible to the important work that you've done, and the important work that I know you will continue to do. So thank you all.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
thank you. Thank you very much. And with that, committed to our service, looking at the agenda, we will slow it down a little bit pursuant to our new member to get a good feel for how we progress through the agenda. We are at point 3 for approval of the minutes. All of these documents have been sent out for your review. Pursuant to that, are there any questions with regards to the minutes for our open meeting December 18th, 2025? Yes, Member Butler.
No, I need him for the closed meeting. Sorry.
This is okay. Is there a motion to accept or approve the minutes for the open meeting? Um, Vice Chair?
Move.
And is there a proper second?
Mr.
It's
Chair,
been properly seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. Thank you very much. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand so that we can all see. It is unanimous. Thank you. So moved. All right. Now, moving on to the closed meeting minutes for December 18th. Now, the new member was not present, not expecting you to vote. We need 4 on this one for those who were in attendance. Is there, okay, Member Butler?
I had some questions about how it was written up. I think there's some mistakes in there and whatever, but there was so much paperwork this time. I didn't have time to go back through it. I really would like to put that one off until next time around. Just because there was a lot of conversation in there and they were like double negating some of the things Vicky said and whatever. I'd like to get it correct before we approve it, but there was thousands of pages of stuff to go through this time and I just didn't get a chance to finish it. So if we could put that one off, I would be happy, but it's up to you all.
So put it off until the end of this meeting, or are you asking for us to push that to our next meeting? Because we are looking to have another closed meeting today.
Let's push it to the next meeting. We have so much on our plate that it's a lot.
Yeah, we do. But when did we send these out? I didn't have any corrections.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'll double check when we sent them out. Sorry. I don't.
All right. All
Let's see
right.
a reason why we can't put it off. Because
Yeah,
we need 4
yeah,
votes.
we need 4 votes, but I still want the members to review it. Okay.
And thank you.
Yeah. We'll
So,
hold
Mr. Chair,
those
for
over.
clarification, are you deferring the closed meeting minutes until our February meeting? I just need clarification.
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
per request from Member Butler.
Understood.
for the record. All right. Thank you. Now on to number 4, State Administrator's Report.
Thank you. And welcome, Member Bryant, to your inaugural meeting here. So a couple of things here. I'm just gonna, because we have such a jam-packed agenda here, I'm just gonna do some highlights from my administrator's report here. The General Assembly, of course, is now back into session, and bills are coming in. We already have had bill hearings. So one of our departmental bills, which was for the earlier distribution of fair campaign finance funds, House Bill 260 was the first bill hearing of the new inaugural labor elections government committee. It was great to be there and to kick off their inaugural committee. But that was getting a hearing, and of course, the address confidentiality program management as well was also heard on the House side. We'll be monitoring all the legislations as we move forward with it. The other big news, of course, is the annual report, which was due on yesterday, Wednesday, January 21st. We had over, I think, 83% file timely, which is great. And a lot of committees were, logging in for the first time, which, we've told them a bunch of times beforehand that they needed to do that. But we knew and we were prepared for committees waiting until the last second to log in and making sure but the team reacted well. We had a lot of, customer support, and we were just ready for all the contingencies that were coming through here. So now we're notifying all the ones that have failed to file, and and they are now being subsequently fined. But we'll still work with them on that there. On public outreach, we have started our campaign. We just started filming for our aggressive voter outreach campaign, focusing on voter education and making sure that they can understand when the dates are, how to become an election judge. So, be on the lookout as we roll out that campaign very soon. And additionally, along the lines there, we are in the process of developing an app for use for the 2026 election, which I'm very excited about. We're still testing the app, but it's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be such an easy means for voters to get access to information about how to register to vote, again, becoming election judges, methods of voting, and more important, deadlines, so that they can just have it right there on their fingertips and put it right into their phone. So I'm looking forward to all that there. As we are also moving forward with our new voting systems, and that procurement. So that's all on track, and the e-poll book procurement is now underway as well. We had given out the award and have now started to do gap analysis and and start moving forward on that project to make sure that it's timely for the 2028 election as well. So those are kind of the bigger things there. And I did not use any delegated authority in the last month. But now it's moving forward and getting ready for the 2026 primary election. So with that, I submit my admin report, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, and then Member Butler.
Mr. Chair. Jared, any reaction from candidates and committees about the new filing system, the new reporting system? Is it well received? A lot of issues, complaints?
Some people, I think that, I think that question is going to be best answered by the pre-primary one report. I think a lot of people right now are still trying to figure it out, but I think overall it was well received. I think a lot of stakeholders like the clarity of it and the ability to see their reports in an easy, digestible manner. The filing itself, some people were just a little bit, with the new template, it was slightly off, but I think more training and more experience with it, just like anytime like when Apple always gives me a new update, it takes me at least a week to get to figure out everything correctly here. So, I think by the pre-primary one report, now that everyone's had it, we'll keep up our robust customer service and technical staff present for that report as well. So overall, I think it was quite successful, and people were happy with the upgrades.
One quick question. In terms of the new voting system, has a vendor been selected, a company selected?
No, we're still in the process of receiving offers, the financials process now.
We have a lot of people interested or no? Do we know?
Well, I can't really talk about how many people are interested because we're still working through it and it's a part of it, but that will be, it's working through the normal procurement process.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Member Butler. Yes.
Jared. A couple things. On the final stages of planning for the aggressive voter outreach, please make sure that in those videos, there's a portion in there on how to check your voter registration. We're trying to really get those provisionals down. And I think if people check their registration, I just think that's a really important part of it. I think they'll just go on the site just to do it, which I think will help educate them anyway. But
Right.
I think just please remember that each time. I keep seeing the same list and I never see that on the list. Couple other things. So the letter that you're sending out for the permanent absentee removals,
Yes.
so can that letter be included for information about inactive voters or not? Could you put the
No,
two
this is a separate one. So these are active voters, right? And they're on the permanent mail-in ballot list, but have not voted a mail-in ballot for the last two elections. So this is basically saying you're no longer on the permanent mail-in ballot list. You have, a couple of options here. One, you can reapply to be on the mail-in ballot list. Two, do nothing, and then you can vote in person either early or on election day. But and then we always mention the fact that your voter registration status has not changed. You're still an active voter. So this is separate and distinct from the inactive mailer.
So it'd probably be too confusing to add that into it if
Yeah.
you're, okay.
Right, because these are people that have actually voted or right. They just voted a different method. They didn't vote the mail-in ballot. They might have voted.
Yeah, a lot of people signed up and then decided they didn't want to sign up and be on there. So I'd understand that one. Okay. And then, okay. And then we had something on here with the voter registration, the following summaries, something to do with the non-citizens that voted. It says non-citizen referrals are sent to the state prosecutor's office on a quarterly
Yes.
basis. Okay, so we had 19 were sent to the prosecutor. They
Yep.
removed 19 of them. 16 of the non-citizens voted and 7 of them voted numerous times. Is that what that says?
Yes.
Okay, does that mean multiple times in one election or multiple times in different elections?
Different elections.
Different, okay, so they're not voting multiple times in the same election, because that's
No.
another. Okay, so why are we still missing, we got to go back to this list, which we'll do that, I guess, in, I don't know, old business maybe, and see if we can work on, I'd like to get that committee set up for that list, because we're still struggling with that, and it's obvious that we're still struggling with it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Member Butler. Member Jackson Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jared, I have a different take on what we've been talking about before. Well, let me start with my first line of thinking. I'm so glad you gave us clarification on the new system and how some people are kind of confused with how it's supposed to work, because my comment when we got to that part about the Title 14 late filing waivers, it's like, oh my goodness, what is it, 30, 25, 30 people? And I would say 12 are saying, the new system is confusing. And I was the one that I think early on in my term here was talking about what is going on with the system that everyone is so confused. I am glad, though, that you have given them the permission to have their fees waived because of the new system. And I
Yeah.
guess my question is, how much leeway are we going to give them? Will this be an ongoing complaint? Next month, will I see more people saying the system is not user
No,
friendly?
no, I guess the thing is the leeway was like you have to make a good faith effort for it.
Hmm.
Title 14 is a little bit different because those individuals that file the reports for or businesses, they're not
Hmm.
in the campaign finance world most likely for filing periodic reports, and they only do it twice a year. So, I could see why they had a little bit more difficulty because a lot of the times you always say like, "Oh, I don't even know I just got thrown this job here." So, I was looking at that and just going, they should have a little bit more leeway. But yes, if Title 14 keeps coming after like in February, the answer is no, because now they were waited until after the deadline in order to
Hmm.
actually try to file. So they were late to begin with. Having technical issues is not on us anymore. It was basically they were just late. And the same thing what you're going to see a little bit uh, with the annual report as well, because you'll probably see a few people that filed like maybe a day late or so. And when you have I would say a de minimis penalty, it might be best to waive those just because they had made good faith efforts. But again, if they go past certain points here, now they were never even timely to begin with. They were late, and so they didn't really make a good faith effort at that
Hmm.
point.
So the deciding factor is a good faith effort versus they just knew they were late and did it anyway.
Exactly right. And then they were just trying to blame everything else, right?
Yeah,
Like,
blame the other people. And
right.
not to
I
belabor the
was late,
point.
and oh, now there's still a computer issue.
Oh,
There's
my
this, right?
dog ate my homework. Is that sort of how we could do this?
Exactly.
But and
Right.
and I'm glad that you gave that explanation because there were 30 that were waived in good faith, but there were 9 that were denied, and they were saying the same thing. So I'm going to guess that the good faith
Right.
effort was questionable with those
Y-
9.
yes.
That's a question.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
think
Okay.
we'll
Yes.
cover that at the
Yeah, and
Title 14.
he
Yes.
And
brought
and
it up,
and
so I
let
thought
me just
I'd.
say those
Yeah, no
nine can
problem.
come
No problem.
back, and let me just say those 9 when Alan does it, those 9 can still come back and provide additional resources, additional evidence of their efforts.
Thank
But
you.
at this point here, it wasn't clear.
Exactly. Thank you so much. Not to belabor the point. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm
No
clear.
problem. That was very relevant and robust discussion on the point.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you all very much. All right. And now thank you, State Administrator.
Yeah.
On to the Assistant Attorney General's report. Dan Corp.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just getting my camera on here. I'll try to keep this short and sweet. Can you see me? I don't see my camera going on.
It was there and then you disappeared.
Yeah.
There you are. Yeah,
Yep. There you
As long
go.
as you
there's a
can hear
delay.
me.
Yeah.
Here you go. So that you'll notice the list is a little longer. It's a busier time for the State Board of Elections in terms of litigation. I'll go through the cases briefly, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them as best as I can in open session. The first case, as always, Sullivan v. Summers. I am hopeful this is the last month this case will be on the list, as the 4 members of the board right now here approved last month. There is now a negotiated and agreed upon settlement for attorney's fees. That agreed upon settlement will be going before the Board of Public Works for final approval, since it requires the state to pay money. And hopefully once we have that approval, the case will be over. The second case, Brian Della Rocca v. Susan Lee. The appellant, this case has been fully briefed before the Fourth Circuit. Appellants filed their brief. OAG filed appellee's brief on behalf of the State Board, the Maryland Secretary of State, and the United States Postal Service. About a week ago, appellant filed a special letter called a Rule 28J letter, which is just a letter that says there is new authority, there's a new case, or there's a new rule out that affects the opinion in this case. OAG is currently drafting a response to that Rule 28J letter and should have it filed by the end of today. So that will take care of that. And again, at that point, we're just waiting for a decision from the Fourth Circuit in that appeal. California v. Trump. This is the lawsuit against the federal government. And there's two cases on the list stemming from it, but there is the district court level, the federal trial court level lawsuit, and then the appeal of the preliminary injunction. The district court, the trial level lawsuit, is at the summary judgment stage, and at this point, summary judgment is fully briefed out. Both sides, both the 19 states and the federal government, have filed their cross motions for summary judgment, their responses, and their replies. And now we wait for the district court to provide its ruling on summary judgment to either the states or the federal government. For the preliminary injunction appeal, this is the appeal of the preliminary injunction that the states received, that the states won. That is now fully briefed as of, I believe, today. Actually, I'm sorry, the reply brief is due by the 26th. I thought I saw it was filed, but this is the federal government's reply brief. Once that's filed, it will be fully briefed. There may be an oral argument. I have not seen it scheduled yet. But if there is, OAG is not doing the oral argument. It's a 19-state coalition, and in all likelihood, California's attorneys will conduct the oral argument. To the state litigation, in which the board is involved directly, Bryson v. Moore is the unaffiliated voters lawsuit alleging that the primary election that excludes unaffiliated voters violates the state constitution. That case was a win for SVE and for the state at the circuit court level, was appealed to the Appellate Court of Maryland, and before briefing in the Appellate Court of Maryland, the unaffiliated voters has asked the Supreme Court of Maryland to hear the case. They're asking reasonably because they want a decision before the primary election this year. OAG is presently drafting a response to their petition, which is due in 5 days and will be filed before then. The United States v. Jared Demarinis, this is one of the new suits. This is the DOJ lawsuit against Maryland for its response to DOJ's demand to disclose an unredacted voter registration database by agreement between the parties. So the complaint has been filed, and DOJ has also filed a special motion to compel records by agreement between the parties. I reached out to DOJ and they agreed. OAG will be filing a response to both the complaint and the motion to compel on or before January 30th, in about a week. And then the last suit is Republican National Committee v. Jared Demarinis et al. This is the RNC lawsuit alleging that the state is not making reasonable efforts to remove ineligible voters from the voter registration list. This does not have a special motion to compel. This is just a complaint. And so there needs to be a responsive pleading filed by agreement between the parties. I reached out to counsel for the plaintiffs. OAG will be filing a response to the complaint on or before January 30th, same date. And so if there are any questions about any of the suits, I'm happy to entertain them now.
Mr. Vice Chair, you're
A quick
recommended.
question. On the lawsuit where independent voters are suing to be allowed to vote in party primaries, what was the board's position on that? Can you refresh my recollection?
Yeah,
What-
the
what's-
board's position was that the Supreme Court of Maryland has decided this question twice before. There are two Supreme Court of Maryland cases which say that voters who don't affiliate with a party don't have the right to participate in that party's primary. And so the only position the board took, it was not a substantive, we don't want voters in the primary. It was the Supreme Court has decided this, that's binding precedent.
They're also dicta that the parties should control who votes in their primaries. Was that part of it?
So there is federal case law, Supreme Court cases describing how the parties have a First Amendment right to associate. And so a state cannot pass a law that says you must have an open primary, or you must have a closed primary. And that is part of the consideration in this case. But the unaffiliated voters lawsuit, they're bringing it under the state constitution. They're not alleging that the federal Constitution gives them the right, and they're also not alleging that they should participate in the primaries because they realize that would violate the First Amendment. The relief they're asking for is to not have a primary, is to enjoin Maryland from having a primary that the state pays for and operates. And their argument is that if the parties want a primary, they should fund it and administer it themselves.
Dan, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Members, any other questions, Dan? Pursuant to the litigation proposed. Presented. All right. Hearing none. Thank you very much, Dan. Greatly appreciate it. Now, moving on to Title 13 waiver request, number 6, with Alan. And Alan, if you could please give us a brief overview of the purpose of Title 13 and then your recommendations.
Sure. Good morning or good afternoon, board members. So Title 13, this is candidate committees, this is PACs, this is super PACs, ballot issue committees. A lot of types of filers in our system fall under Title 13. They are seeking relief for late fees, and they have submitted these waivers with, some brief explanation. Some go a little more in depth, but this is to relieve, and the amounts are different. The max is $1,000 per report. So we don't have many of these. Get ready for February because it's going to be a lot of them in February. But I'm submitting 2 for approval and 1 denial.
But their
Thank
reports
you.
are late. Is that correct, Dan? Alan.
Correct.
They're-
Yeah,
they're
these are
late.
late filers.
These
yes.
are all late filers.
Yeah.
And Alan, thank you for that clarification or point of clarification, Vice Chair. Alan, do you work with the late filers in seeking a mutual resolve, or yes?
Thank you for the question. Yes, a lot of these, my auditors work hours. We have lots of meetings. One of the ones we're seeking approval for, we have worked months with, and some are dealing with some very difficult life circumstances, and we definitely take that into consideration for approval.
Thank you very much for that point of clarity. And I have a question from Member Butler for you.
No, I just wanted to thank Alan because I read them, and if you read all the stuff, you could see where we've worked really hard to try and do what we can and get the ones we can paid. And also I noticed that there were a lot of new ones, and that's going to happen with the new system. And they're being very gracious about that and trying to help people. I personally had a candidate who called me, and I said, call Alan, he'll help you with it. So I just thank you a lot, Alan, because I think you've worked really hard at that. And I think when they reach the point they've reached us, then I feel like you do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Butler.
All right. Thank you. The chair is open to a motion to accept the administration's recommendation. So move. Member Butler, is there a second? Probably second. Member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. So moved. Approved unanimously. Thank you very much. Now moving on to Title 14, and if you would, Alan, give us a brief overview.
Sure. Title 14, these are businesses, business filers. They either employ a lobbyist in the General Assembly, or they do business with the state or a county or municipality. If they have contracts over $200,000, they need to file with us. You'll notice we have a lot of them. Again, we had a new system, but I did an outreach to filers with the Ethics Commission that have not filed with us, and we had 275 new filers join our filings population. So that probably explains the large uptick in what I'm presenting 30 approvals and 9 denials, and I'm glad to answer any questions.
All right.
Mr.
Are there any
Chairman?
questions? Yes.
Mr.
Member
Chairman,
Burke.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a question, but I do ask if these items are going to be considered en masse or as a package, if you could separate three of the items, number 8 with the Baltimore Orioles, number 21, Washington area new automobile dealers, and number 23 with the Express Scripts. I'd like to recuse myself from those matters. Just for the record, I'm recusing myself for consideration of those matters due to a prior professional relationship with these entities many, many years ago. For the record, I have no current relationship and definitely no financial interest in these matters or any of their matters, but I'm recusing myself to avoid any appearance of a conflict. It is a function of my personal integrity and the integrity of the board.
Thank you so very much for the disclosure, Member Bryant. Does any member have a problem with that? All right, so Alan, pulling out number 8,
Number 21 and 23.
21 and 23. Now I will accept a motion on all recommendations outside other than 8, 21, and 23. All right, so moved by Member
Mr.
Butler.
Chair,
Yeah,
Mr.
yes.
Chair, I
Member Jackson
apologize for
Stanley.
my lateness. Thank you, Mr. Bryant, for making me circle back to this listing. On number 29, Tides at River March LLC. When I was mayor, I had a professional relationship with the developments that are in Cambridge with the Fairchilds. And I think Mr. Bryant reminded me that I was supposed to have said that early on, so I apologize for my tardiness. So I would have to recuse myself from number 29, the Fairchild Tides at River Marsh LLC. That's property on the Hyatt specifically.
All right, thank you very much for that, Member Jackson
you, sir.
Stanley. The chair will accept the motion to accept the administration's recommendation on item 29 of the list. So move, Member Butler. Is there a second? This is probably seconded by Member Vice Chair. This is for item 29 only. All those in favor indicate by raising your hand. It is 4 with 1 recusal. All right, now moving on to the remainder of the list, the chair will accept a motion, all the recommendations except for 8, 21, and 23. So move, Member Butler. Is there a second? Properly seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. For all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. All right, we are unanimous consent for the remainder. Now, for item 21, 22, 8, 21, and 23. The chair will accept the motion, so move to accept the recommendations of the administration is probably seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. For the record, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. We have 4 in favor and 1 recusal. Thank you all so very, very much for your due diligence and awareness. Thank you, Alan. Greatly appreciate it. Now we have number 8, administrative closure. And please, Alan, give us an update and brief description of our obligation here.
Sure. So this is not something we do very often, but sometimes campaigns can't properly close under the normal circumstances. The board has the ability to administratively close a committee, and this is a follow-up. You already approved one of the victims of Mr. McCullum. This is a slate committee that was also a victim of theft. He did serve time for that. And the treasurer was assigned Mr. Bloom. He did a very good job of cleaning up the campaign, making some residual donations to some charities in Baltimore County. So I am submitting this for approval for admin closure.
Is there any questions from the board? Hearing none, the chair is open to accept the motion to accept the administration's recommendation.
Mr. Chair,
Member
so moved.
Jackson, so moved. Is there a second? Properly seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Unanimous consent. Thank you very much, Alan. Approved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, on to item number 9. We have several regulations in for final authorization for the board's vote. Now, typically we do these in batches. Today, we will do them letter by letter for the purpose of our new member to be fully briefed on the matters that are being presented for final. They have been out for public comment and have come back for our authorization. All right. Now, with that, Jared, do we have you or Jennifer?
Melissa
have?
is,
Melissa? Okay.
yes.
Melissa will be briefing us on these items, and Melissa, bear with us for the purpose of full understanding. Dealing with item letter A, 33.02.03.05, election judges training and programs. This is being put forward for a final vote. If you could give us a brief overview. Now, also understanding that these have gone out to public comment.
Correct.
And
We
whether-
didn't get any public comments, just to close that loop. I'll just give a quick blurb about each one, and I'm happy to take any questions. So the first one, A on the list, is implementing, and most of these are just implementing laws from 2025 session. This is to implement a law that requires that an election judge serve during the voting period in order to be paid for training.
Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this regulation? Member Vice Chair.
Melissa may have answered this in the past, but Melissa, if there's a law, why do we need a regulation?
Well, because we have a regulation and the law, and they don't agree. So we need to change our regulation to agree with the law.
If we have a law, I could be way out of line. If there's a law by the legislature, we follow the law. Why do we need a regulation?
So this expounds on the law. It certainly provides more detail in terms of what happens if there's an electronic and a in-person component to the training and things of that nature. So it is based on the law, but it flushes the law out quite a bit more for our local boards.
Okay.
So to that, Vice Chair, I appreciate that. It seems that the regulatory commitment helps to carry out the full extent of the law. So the law may stipulate to the effect, but the regulatory action or practice helps carry it out so that it is in compliance, that we are in compliance. All right. Any questions? Any further questions? All right. With that, the chair is open to a motion to accept on final, the approval of the final reg. So move, Member Butler. Is there a second? Probably seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. All right. We have unanimous consent. So moved. Thank you. On to B. 33.04.02.01 through 0.04 and 0.06 inspection and copying of public records, confidentiality of certain information.
This change clarifies our current confidentiality regulations, which really we have essentially 3 buckets of confidential voters, or 3 ways to become a confidential voter, and our regulations currently only speak to one. This provides the framework for all 3. 2 are existing, and 1 was a new law. I actually think it was 2024 that it was passed that provided confidentiality to judges and their families. And so that loops this in as well.
All right, and to that effect, are there any questions regarding this regulation? All right, the chair is open to accept the final vote, the regulation. So moved by Member Jackson Stanley. Is there a second? Properly seconded by the Vice Chair. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. So moved. Unanimous consent. Thank you very much. See? We are looking at 33.07.04.02 Election Day activities, order and decorum, cell phones, pagers, and cameras.
Sure, and my apologies. This is where it jumps a bit out of order. That is at the end because it kind of goes with the language assistance stuff. But just in a nutshell, that allows the election judges to use cell phones to provide language assistance to voters.
And that's with providing interpretations.
Yes,
Right.
yeah, interpretation. Yep.
All right. Are there any questions? All right. Hearing none, the chair is open to a motion to accept the reg. So moved by Member Butler. Is there a second? Properly seconded by Vice Chair. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. We have unanimous consent. Thank you so very much regarding the reg. So it's so moved. All right. Now we are at, and so Melissa, I am going by the agenda
That's fine.
here. Okay.
Yep.
So we have D 33.07, because when you jump around, especially with all these numbers, it can be very convoluted. It can get very convoluted very fast. But 33.07.07.01 through 0.03 election day activities, challengers and watchers.
Sure. So lots of things going on in these regulations. And I think first and foremost, it clarifies that you have to be a registered Maryland voter to be a challenger or watcher. It also implements some notice requirements for challengers and watchers to make sure that they can be prepared for and accommodated by the local boards, but allows a substitution for where challengers or watchers that are originally designated can't attend. We clarified some language in terms of what is a permissive activity and what is a permitted activity. Changing some shall to may in terms of what challengers and watchers are at the polling place to do. And we switched, there are a couple terms that we've been moving away from holistically in the regulations. One of them involves the modem transmission, which is really a practice, not a term, that we don't do. So that's been removed. And we also have been moving away from the word verified to observing, which is really what the challengers and watchers are doing there. They are not, verifying X against Y. They are observing the process and,
they do not certify the
parts
vote.
of
Okay.
So that is kind of a summary of what's going on there. And again, happy to answer questions or if I can't make Jared answer them.
All right. I think we have a question from Member Butler. Your hands up, Member Butler? Yeah. Okay.
I talked with Melissa about these yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, and we went through a lot of the different things. Originally, when we put these on the agenda, we allowed it to go on the agenda because Jared was going to contact the central committees and the state parties and have them take a look at this. And that was not done because I had a lot of people, that said that they never got any information about this. And that was supposed to have been done the month before that so that they would have the opportunity to take a look at this because there's a limiting that it has to be done by the first day of the early voting. And they might not be happy with that in case they want to use it for regular voting day, et cetera. So there were two things in here that were, one of it leaves voter integrity groups that they have no way to designate themselves because they're not a political action committee. And then also and then the one day, the one business day before the start of early voting. So that was supposed to have been sent out to them. It was not done. So I would like that done and this one removed and put on the next month and see if we could get that taken care of. Because this is who needs to look at it is the central committees and the state parties of both parties.
I appreciate your sentiments. Unfortunately, these did go out to for public comment didn't have access to all of this. They had access as well when it was proposed initially. So I will take into account your concerns, but I would like for us to, the chair is open for a motion to accept for final passage.
Except I was told we were going to do that. Jared said they were going to do that. So what is Jared?
I understand. I understand. I do not have that in the record. I do not have that before me. I don't know if he was told, you were told that during a meeting or do a phone call. I don't know, but I do, and I recognize your sentiments. But for the purpose of the record today, it is on the agenda for a vote. Member Jackson Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You made the comment before I was able to be recognized, but it was my understanding from our last meeting regarding this topic, it was sent to the public. I also don't remember it being part of the conversation that I understood, and I may be wrong. I've been wrong several times today, that we would have it open to the public, but I don't remember it being sent, that it would be sent to the particular parties for their comment. And with that in mind, I want to challenge my partner, Sister Butler, and say, I understand your concern, but it wasn't part of the record that I recall. Now, if I'm wrong, I stand corrected, but I think we should move forward with it because it was something that we discussed. And from my understanding, the public had every right to see it. Now, if you didn't get a call and say, look it up, then is that our fault? I don't think so.
I have it in my notes that Jared was going to contact the state parties, both of them, and the central committees.
I understand, but I didn't read it in the minutes.
I had it in my notes.
I also would like for us to recognize that in the due course of business for the body, we have a regulation that has gone in due course to for public comment after our initial presentation of the regulation, which also could have was set for public comment as well during its initial proposal. So that was 1, public comment, 2, and we are here now for final. And I appreciate your sentiments, Mr. Vice Chair.
Mr. Chair, is there a time limit on when we have to notify the public about what's in this regulation? I mean, in other words, is there a time deadline where we have to explain this and get it out to the public?
It goes out immediately after we pass it for after the first proposed regulation. It goes out for public comment prior to coming back. And now it is back without public comment being provided. None of this is done in the dark. It was presented in the open meeting as proposed. It went out for public comment. It came back without those comments being provided from either party. So I am open to a motion to accept for final passage 33.07.03-.03 01-.03 Election Day activities, challengers and watchers.
One more quick question.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah,
Yeah.
1 second. 1 second. I think I saw Mr. Bryant with a question.
Yeah, and thank you and my colleagues for indulging the new person. Obviously, I don't have the same background as everyone else. My question related to this is, if the regulations pass today, when would they take effect? And on that same note, if they pass at another time, 20 days from now, 29 days from now, 32 days from now, what would be the impact? Meaning, is there a clock or calendar issue that impacts what we're talking about? Maybe Jared can dive in addition to any insights you might have, Mr. Chairman.
Primarily, this is related to the electoral process coming up here soon. So Jared or Melissa?
Melissa, do you want to take that? Because
Yeah, I think it's 30. I would have to check. I think it's 30 days. There is a waiting period after they're approved, that they have to be sent back to DSD, published as final, and then they can take effect. Obviously, as we get closer to the election, the goal is really to have all of these in before the beginning of the year, because we need to start preparing the documentation that mirrors the regulations, right? There's a downstream effect, and then pushing that out to the local boards so that the local boards can use those and provide them in their training materials. So ideally, again, our goal is to get everything out as soon as possible.
And I just want to piggyback off of what Melissa just said there about the trainings and everything else, because we're starting to prepare those materials now for this election, getting videos ready for it more than we've ever done with watchers and challengers in the past. So this is relevant to get it to move forward as quickly as possible, so we can prepare for that and make sure that all the relevant stakeholders are aware of their roles.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all, Melissa and Jerry.
All right, Mr. Vice Chair.
But it went through today, and there was a lot of comment, disagreement, unhappiness, concern. Would this issue be able to be brought back to the board for reconsideration? That's one question.
So technically, right, there's a 30-day comment period, and the comments that we receive during that period are what are considered in the regulatory process. Anything that's received outside of that is the same as someone just sending a letter to the board saying, gosh, why don't you take a look at this regulation? And I guess I probably should have defaulted to or punted to Dan on that, but that is my understanding of the process, and I'll let Dan correct me if I'm wrong.
Something that could be reconsidered if there was a lot of disapproval from the public, from the parties or these entities.
So I would assume, Vice Chair, remember we had the same thing with a couple of other regulations where after they've been in effect, people then came back and said, we want you to repeal this or modify that. That would be what occurred again here. At this point here, the public comment period is closed. So there is no public comment, and we cannot open up the public comment period.
But you as a board, I think, Jared, you're referring to, I think it was maybe a list thing. There have been regulations where we have gotten, feedback from groups or various people. And this board has taken a look at the regulations or asked us to take a look at the regulations and let you guys, review potential changes.
Let me ask, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Is there a way, because I see Diane's concern, we're dealing with the two major political parties who apparently have not had input in this major regulation. Is there a way that a shorter period than next month, we could put this issue in front of the board by Zoom to give the parties a chance to weigh in? I mean, these are the two major parties in the state.
So I guess just practically speaking, to the extent that we are going to implement any changes to the regulation, it would need to it would have to start back from scratch, right? Like anything that we get during the 30 days, we can't just add and then put it to final approval. We would have to go back, start from scratch, and move forward. So if we want to consider the parties' input, I would say it doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't make a difference whether we pass the regulation right now or not. It's just a matter of which regulation we would be amending, because we're going to have to start from scratch anyway. If this regulation as written is approved, then at least we would have something in place. I'm not sure if I was able to articulate that well, but no matter what, we would have to start from scratch.
And
My
I
main
want to say
concern,
this, like, I just want to follow up off of Melissa's comments there too, is that we have, like, our meetings are public. There are definitely people that watch it. These things go out to the registry. This is, the normal course of activity. The political parties are always, there's always someone that's watching our board meeting here. So this was not done in a vacuum or a bubble. They did have opportunities, and the impact, they might not have thought that there was any impact on their ability to function, and so therefore they didn't have to write a comment. I mean, on this, it's basically it's something that Mayo wanted and proposed and helped streamline and work through what is a challenger and watcher program. And there is always the undesignated challengers and watchers, which is available as well. This kind of works on the designated part of it to help streamline and make basically more efficient management of an early voting and polling place center with a lot of flexibility as well.
Thank you very much, Jared. I see,
I just
and
have
thank you,
one-
Melissa. One second, Vice Chair. If you have several members that have questions as well related to your concern. So is this a follow-up question or separate?
My main concern, Mr. Chair, is that we vote on this, we pass it, and then both the Democrat and Republican parties
Right.
are totally opposed to it. And,
Understood.
these are the two major parties in our state.
Understood. Member Jackson Stanley?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I referred back to my notes as well. And in September 25th, the entire slate of proposed regulations, we decided to omit discussion of that at the time. And then in October, on October 23rd, we discussed it, 33, 07, 07, 01 through 03. We discussed it again. And then in December, in the interest of time, we did not present that because we had many things to discuss as it related to the election plan proposals. And at the October meeting, I don't have anything for November, so I figured, I'm using my Eastern Shore accent now. I figured that we would discuss it again after we sent it to public comment. And it's my opinion that if we had it on the agenda in September, we presented it again in October, and then in December, in the interest of things that we had to do otherwise, I think the parties had ample opportunity. As you said, that this is an open forum, and if there was anyone who had any objection to anything, Democrat, Republican, Independent, they all had an opportunity to speak, not as an organized party, but as individuals, which is the public. And bringing it back again today, particularly since no one, as I understand, no one, am I right, Jared? No one made a comment on any level?
Yeah.
So to belabor it, even for 30 days, it's not giving our local boards an opportunity to do what is supposed to be done in a very short turnaround time. I was looking at the timelines, and if we push it back to February, March, the local boards are going to be crunched to make sure everything is in place. And I don't think it's fair to the boards. My role is to make sure I say something for the local boards. I know that my local board members are listening. They pulled me up and said, you don't do a lot of talking, but when you say something, it sounds like you're paying attention. It's like, that's my job. So my job is to say, if we don't do something now and push it back so the Republicans or Democrats have yet another opportunity to buy in, what Melissa said is very clear that it's going to impact the whole process. And I think that's not fair to our boards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Jackson Stanley. Member Butler.
My problem is we did discuss it in a public meeting. And Jared did say in a public meeting that he would send it to the boards. And we can go back and look at the video of it. So we told everybody we were going to do that. And there were central committee members that were waiting to see what this was going to be and have it sent to them, and it wasn't sent to them. So we did say it in a public meeting that we were going to send it to the central committees and to both state parties. And that's why we took the extra month off so that they could get sent this document. And Jared, when it was said by Jared in a public meeting that we were going to do that. So now we're saying that, no, we're not going to do that. And we didn't bother to do it. And then we're going to, so I'm going to have to vote no on it. So,
Well, I hear you, Member Butler, and that's unfortunate that you share those sentiments in that manner, because I think we have been very accommodating for all public viewers and for all public, especially when these regulations are presented in open meetings. So with regards to commitments to parties, that would subscribe or circumscribe the actions of the board to a party. Because if they choose to not comment, then we are subscribing or circumscribing the actions of the board to a party. I do not want to subject my board members to circumscription of acting to a party, because most of the times we act in a nonpartisan fashion. This regulation does not denote or connote to a specific party. It is to move our electoral process forward. Now, to Vice Chair's point and to the concerns of Member Bryant, the time for comment has passed. I am asking that we move this regulation. If the regulation, as Administrator Jared Demarin has stated, if there are issues, if there are problems, and we hear from the public, we have the ability to modify, amend, and move forward. No, I am not saying that that's the mode of operandi that we go, but we do have an active public that is very engaged in what we do and will hold us to account. At this time, we do not have any of their comments other than our regular mode of business, which is to present in final form the regulation that is before us, and the chair is open to a motion to accept the recommendation for passage. Member Jackson Stanley. You're on mute.
Apologize. My apologies. Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation that final regulation 33070701-03, Election Day activities, challengers, and watchers be approved as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I have an amendment I'd like to propose.
Second.
It's probably
Mr. Chair.
seconded. We don't have what's being proposed is what's on the floor is a motion to accept. And it's
Should I clarify?
not at this time. The amendment would have been proposed during initial presentation, open discussion. When it's at public comment, there is ample time to amend. And I am moving on the motion to accept, and it has been properly seconded. I did not, if there is discussion,
yeah,
I will hear it, but it is on the floor to be moved as is.
Here. Can we say, though, that this is subject to modification or review upon receipt of comment from the two political parties?
No, that would circumscribe the regulation to the parties. And the regulation is not dictated by party affiliation. It is dictated by the board and the public. It went for public comment. The public did not. So we are moving it as presented in its initial form when it was proposed. Now, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand to the motion. All right. All those who oppose?
Abstain.
The purpose of abstention?
I can't make a decision based upon our dialogue today.
So we have 3 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstention. All right, the motion fails. All right, thank you very much. We are now on to 33.07.11.02, compensation of election judges.
Sorry, I was trying to find my mute button. Okay, so this is another regulation that brings us into compliance with the laws that were passed regarding election judges in 2025. I'm looking for the exact. I want to say this one clarifies that students who serve to get credit, the public service credit, can't also get compensated. I'm speaking from memory, but I'm pretty positive that's what it is. As soon as I find it in my document, I will. Yes, that's exactly what it is. And that's the only thing changing in that reg.
All right, are there any questions? All right, hearing none, the chair is open to a motion to accept the recommendations from administration. Final passage. Regulation 33.07.11.02, compensation of election judges. It's been properly moved by Jackson Stanley. Is there a second? Properly seconded by Vice Chair. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. So moved. Unanimous consent. All right, moving on to 33.07.12, Election Day Activities, Language Assistance Program.
Okay, let me scroll down there. Okay, so 2025 General Assembly passed the Language Assistance Program, which requires, and you'll hear more about this in the next item of business too, which requires the local boards to provide language assistance to in the local boards where there is a certain threshold met. This is the entire regulatory scheme that implements that legislation. Just at a very high level, it is counties that have more than a certain percentage or number of speakers of a language other than English as their primary language. And it requires that the local boards provide basic voting materials online only, and then a translation service at the polling place, as well as to make an effort to try to recruit bilingual election judges. So that again is very high level. Happy to answer any questions. This just sets out the timing for designation and doing all of the things for the local boards to prepare to implement that program.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right, hearing none, the chair is open to a motion to accept for final passage. All right, so moved by Member Butler. Is there a second? Properly seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It moves with unanimous consent. Thank you very much, Melissa. Moving on, and members, moving on to 33.08.01.02, canvassing, definitions, general provisions, and board responsibilities.
Okay. This one brings our regulations up to the current realities of Canvas, which is that we canvass before Election Day. So it sets the swearing in of the Board of Canvassers and and local council for a time that permits them to be sworn in for early voting or for pre-canvass. It's before early voting. And then also sets an expiration of that term because there's currently no expiration of the term in regulations.
Any questions or concerns from the board at this time? All right, hearing none, the chair is open for a motion to accept the regulation, final passage. So moved by Vice Chair. Is there a proper second? Properly seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. So moved. Thank you very much. All right, now moving on to 33.08.01.02-1. On the agenda, canvassing, definitions, general provisions, board council.
This does the same thing that did for Board of Canvassers for Board Council.
Understood. Any questions, any concerns? The chair is open to a motion to accept. So moved by Member Jackson Stanley, properly seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. And so moved. Thank you. Unanimous consent. On to regulation for final passage 33.11.03.08, absentee ballots, issuance and return when ballots are timely.
Okay, bear with me, I'm getting there. Issuance, okay, it's right underneath of it. This clarifies what happens with mail-in ballots that are received after the close of canvass. So once the Board of Canvassers adjourns, our regulations really don't envision what happens with a ballot. And so the local boards are kind of left trying to figure it out. Do they have to present it to their board? How do they have to formally reject it? This codifies what we have put out as our guidance for those ballots, which is that you don't have to present them to your local board. Because they are no longer the Board of Canvassers. You just store them separately, and they obviously can't be counted because they aren't timely and the election is closed.
Thank you. Are there any questions or concerns? All right, for final passage of regulation, the chair is open to a motion to accept. All right, so moved by Member Jackson Stanley. Is there a proper second? Been properly seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. So moved, passed with unanimous consent. Thank you. Moving on now on the agenda, final reg 33.16.05.03, provisional ballots, canvassing of ballots, disposition, and disposition of provisional ballot application.
Okay, yay, last one. So this is to implement another 2025 law, which provides that even if a voter votes a ballot of the wrong party, that the Board of Education contest can be counted. Right now, if a voter votes, well, prior to the law, if a voter voted the wrong ballot, it would just be rejected. This provides for a count in part, as the locals call it, for that one contest.
Thank you. Any questions? Melissa, any public comment?
No comments.
All right. With that being said, the chair is open for a motion to accept final passage. The regulation that's just been presented. So move, Member Jackson Stanley. Is there a proper second? It's been properly seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. So, are there any opposition? All right, I have 4 votes. All right, unanimous consent. Thank you very much, Jackson Stanley. Now, moving on to 33.1. So, Melissa, we did have one more here on 33.21.03.04. Special elections by mail. Special elections by mail.
Oh, yes, that's another
Issuance and
easy
return.
one.
Transmission
Yes.
of ballots.
Okay, it's easy. We changed the timeline in there to match the law. So we had a whole overhaul on special elections and the timing to make sure that they don't break any of our existing statewide elections when they're when we have to help put them on, which is a vote by mail election. And so this changes the timing for sending out mail-in ballots from 14 to 30 days, which is what the law requires.
So we're a learning organization. All those in favor of the passage for final final passage, the chair is open for a motion to accept. It's been properly moved by Member Butler. Is there a proper second? Properly seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. So moved with unanimous consent. Thank you so very, very much. Melissa, we also have on the agenda, we greatly appreciate your patience and your efforts working with us in the administration's active engagement with putting on statewide elections and monitoring local elections as well to the best of their ability. We will continue to support your efforts in administrating the democratic process here in Maryland. Here at number 10, language assistance approval for Anne Arundel, Baltimore County, Baltimore City, Prince George's County, and Montgomery County. This is permitting the administration to act on behalf of the local boards to be able to address language barriers. Is there a motion to accept the permittance of allowing the administration to act in support? So moved by Member Butler. Is there a second? It's been properly seconded. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It's so moved. Thank you so very much with unanimous consent. All right. Now on to the good stuff.
Yep.
Election plan approvals for Anne Arundel, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, Frederick, and Prince George's. We will go through these as we have before, individually with the recommendations from the administration. All right, Jared.
Okay. Lexi's going to start sharing her screen and going through each of the 5 counties now, and then we can vote. Yes.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and you can see the screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So this is Anne Arundel County's polling place plans. We already approved the early voting centers and the ballot drop boxes. There were some public comments that were submitted for this and provided prior to the meeting. Jared, if you don't mind, could you explain the conditional approval here that we're recommending?
Sure. We've received some public comments that we've distributed to the board members beforehand about one of the early voting centers there. So David Garris, the election director, is online here to answer those questions about why he selected it. But I think that at one point here, some of the conditions for approval to, I would say, assuage any sort of interference or perceptions that may be associated with that facility is that the inside the 100-foot zone, there's no mention of the candidate, regardless of what he's doing or anything that in those facilities there. For this period of time here, must be considered a candidate, and that the facility must be void of any sort of mentioning or photos or anything to that effect inside the 100-foot zone, because then that would be considered campaign material. Additionally, I think David needs to make sure that the candidates are aware of this situation, and then finally just provide us with a letter that this was the only viable location in the facility within probably by the end of the month or so, just to make sure, because of all the public comments that circulated around the one early firehouse as an early voting center. So those are the conditions. But I agree. Outside of that, it is a facility that can be used and has been used in the past.
All right. And the director is available if
Yeah.
there are, okay, if necessary. Member Butler, you are recognized.
I looked at this really carefully and read everybody's letters. We moved that. I think that post was moved to the other location because the library was too small to fit in the room, and there wasn't enough parking, et cetera, and that the fire station was a better fit, and they had already moved it to that. When I was driving around and looking at different polling places at the last election, I remember going into numerous firehouses, and I was pleasantly surprised that you didn't run into any of the firemen at all. The trucks were all at the other end, the people were all at the other end, and the voting was totally separate. So I really didn't have much problem with that. I think, having a better location for people is probably the best way to go. My issue with the Anne Arundel County is, again, my question is, why are 55% of the polling places not in the precinct of the voters? And that's one of the questions that I have. I kind of look at to see, but that's a lot of percentage of precincts that don't have a polling place in their precinct. So that was my question for David.
All right, do we have David available?
Thank you for
Thank
the
you, David.
question.
Mhm.
We always strive to have a facility in the precinct. If not, we have it in the adjacent precinct, especially in North County. We have a lot of locations in that more metro area where it's more densely populated. So you have a lot of precincts which can be close together. It might not necessarily have a dedicated building in the precinct itself, but it's located in the same vicinity as the local elementary school or local high school. So we use the large local buildings.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, David. Any other questions from the board of David? Or of Morgan? Or Lexi? All right, hearing none, the chair is open to a motion to accept the proposed plan for Anne Arundel County.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I
Member
apologize.
Jackson Stanley, I'm sorry. I
I'm
didn't
sorry,
see
it was
you.
my
You had
fault.
a question.
I was on mute and
Okay.
I could hear you, but I couldn't tell if I was on. One of the things that concerns me, I'm concerned, is that part of the information that we received regarding Anne Arundel County came from various people asking us not to approve one particular site in Anne Arundel County because of their perception of a possible conflict of interest. If we approve this in total, or should we approve this in total if we have public comment that says they take exception with this particular site, Early Heights polling place, and they're suggesting that we choose a second location? How should I address or understand this? Because I took quite a lot of interest in reading that they were all saying the same thing. It was like they all had the same concerns and wanted to make sure we understood that they had a problem with Early Heights polling place before the vote is taken. I wanted to ask that question.
Remember, that was the way I was saying it was conditional that
Okay,
David
that's the conditional. Okay.
Right. So that basically that facility has to be scrubbed inside and inside the 100-foot zone of any references to any candidates, whether they're just simple awards or not, or they have the individual is now a candidate, and that they would have to be treated as such, so that they would not be a voter would not be able to see or be I would say any sort of potential campaign material inside the 100-foot zone, and that David then has to also make sure that he has went around by the end of the month and provided us that there is no other viable location that would service that facility, that area of voters to us.
So the recommendation of an alternative location would not meet the needs of the people in that area?
That, yes, right. That I want him to certify to that.
Okay. Because there were so many comments, I wanted to make
Exactly.
sure I was on record to say, if we approve this, are we sort of going around the comments of people who had some concerns about the polling place and the candidate that's part of that place?
Right, and I think that was the provisional
Right.
component
Okay.
of that to address those concerns and those comments. So
Thank you.
great question. Thank you very much. And thank you, Jared. Member Butler.
Just a quick question. We approved part of this plan last time, right? So we're only approving the other part. And I think that was already approved last time, wasn't it? So
Yes.
we'd be I was trying to switch
The
around.
provisional, yes.
Just want to make sure I was correct on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Jared, I just want to understand whether the candidate is campaign material, meaning, no campaign material, no paper, no lawn sign or the like, but would the candidate within that electioneering zone be deemed campaign material and prohibited?
For this purposes, yes, I would say that if there's photos of the candidate inside, that they should be removed during this early voting period.
But I meant the candidate herself or himself.
Oh, that would also be yes, because during this time, the individual during voting would be considered a candidate, not as a part of their function, as whatever office that they hold in that facility there.
Okay. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So the chair, again, is open for a motion to accept the provisional recommendation for Anne Arundel County's election plan.
So moved.
Is there a proper second? So moved by Member Jackson Stanley. Is there a proper second? Properly seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It has been approved unanimously with provision. Thank you very much.
Okay, next up we have Baltimore City. This is going to be a partial approval, so we're just looking at the early voting centers and the ballot drop boxes, which we are recommending that they be approved. They have 3 new locations that weren't used in 2024 for a total of 9 early voting centers. And for ballot drop boxes, they have 35 boxes total, which is just 1 more than 2024. And 2 of those boxes have relocated. We included the polling place information just for the full picture of what's happening, but we are only voting on early voting centers and ballot drop boxes at this time.
Okay.
All right. Are there any questions? Is everyone clear on what yes, Member Butler. Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you because they managed to get most all of their polling places in their precincts except for like 18, which is a really good number out of all the numbers that they have. So good job, Baltimore City.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. Member Butler. Member Vice Chair.
Yeah, I may have missed it. So why are we not voting for the election sites?
We don't have all the information required to vote on them at this time, so we'll be presenting them at probably February's meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the chair is open to a motion to accept in part the Baltimore City election plan dealing with early voting sites as well as a drop box. All right. So move Member Butler, properly seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. So move unanimously. It passes. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I can procedurally
Bryant?
say explain my vote, although it's less an explanation of my vote and more an opportunity to reiterate what Ms. Butler said, which is having polling places in the precincts where you live seems to be something that's important. And I wanted to support that concept. It just strikes me as something that's important, and maybe we come back to it another time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Duly noted. And in the past, for FYI as well, some of the precincts, some of the jurisdictions, some of the counties do not have physical space in those precincts. So they have to elect to move outside of those precincts. And we have experience with that in certain densely or populated counties or jurisdictions. Which is the reason and rationale. And oftentimes it is mentioned in their proposals or election plans. But yes, your sentiments, yours as well as Member Butler's, has been recognized and carried forward as we proceed. And the directors are often here to explain their reason and rationale for those purposes. All right. Thank you. And we are moving on now to Baltimore County.
Okay, for Baltimore County, they have 11 early voting centers. That's no changes from 2024. They have 38 total drop boxes, which is 2 more than what they had in 2024, and 4 of those locations are different. For their polling place plan, the number of individual buildings has dropped from 2024, but it's the same as what they had in 2022. And then the number of polling places is there when you see the increase, and we are recommended that they are approved.
All right. Member Butler.
This is another one that has 50% of the polling places that are not in their district. And the reason being was the same reason all the way down the line, that after the redistricting, they didn't bother to move them. I think it's something they might want to start thinking about, because we do the redistricting every 10 years with the census. That's when you're supposed to be, the people are waiting for that. They're looking for the change, so that's when it should be done, instead of waiting it out. And then you're in 20 years, then you've got, Lord knows how they're going to change. So I think we need to start trying to get them in their districts as much as we can. And 50% is just a lot. It's a lot of places that are not right in the polling place. And to say that all of them, we just didn't bother to change them, that was, at least in Anne Arundel County, they had reasons why, this school changed and that school changed. But again, that's my comment.
No,
Thank you.
I appreciate that. And do we have the director to explain it? I think the comment is valued, and some of your, your colleagues are duly concerned. But prior to getting the director on, Member Bryant?
And again, and you've been tremendously patient, Mr. Chairman, and it's appreciated, but I want to support the leadership of Ms. Butler. And the words I want to use to try to support Ms. Butler is, when I go or someone goes to another precinct, it says in no uncertain terms, I got to go to somebody else's community to speak to my democracy. And that's not where we want to go if we can help it. So I'll leave it at that, but we may come back around to it when I'm better educated. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, and we have the director online to help with our, understanding that would lead to a form of education. So, Director, we have quite a few questions. Is the director available?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
So, and thank you, Member Butler, for bringing that up. When we did we had to redistrict and increase our number of council from 7 to 9 before we submitted our polling place plan. And it was and we did try to move inside the precinct, but the way the lines and the cuts and the splits go in Baltimore County, there is no a school. There's not another location to move it to. So what we did was to limit and try to reduce as much voter confusion as possible, is we left the voters in the same school that is in their community, that's closest to the voters. So although it might not be within the precinct boundaries, it is the closest public building or school to the voters that are in that precinct.
Thank you for that, Rui. Thank you.
You're welcome. And we actually looked at each one, because when we did redistricting in 22, we tried to pull them into the precinct at that time as well. And we just felt like it makes more sense for them to vote where their kids go to school than to move them so they don't drive past one school to go to another, especially if within their precinct is further away from where they're historically, used to voting. But I just tried to, as much as possible, reduce the voter confusion, because I know there's going to be confusion because our school board stayed at 7 and our council increased to 9, which is causing a lot of confusion.
Okay. And thank you. I have a question, if you don't mind to stay around, from Member Bryant. Member Bryant, is your question for the director?
It's a comment, if I'm recognized, Mr. Chairman, about my observations of the director. In other lives, I've had opportunities to watch Baltimore County under this leadership work, and it's been tremendously superlative in those observations. So as the discussion goes about precincts and polling places and lines, I didn't want to conflate the leadership in Baltimore County with that discussion. I appreciate Ms. Lavoie's discussion and response as it relates to voter confusion and her diligence. But because the comment came up right next to it, I want to be clear that in other lives and other ways that I've participated in the democracy, I've seen what has been described as superlative and positive leadership coming out of that office. And I wanted to be fair and put that on the record publicly.
Thank you very much, Member Bryant. Thank you so much. I'm going to share that with my team.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree, Rui.
Thank you. There aren't any other questions or concerns or comments of the director. You are relieved. Thank you so very much for your presence and your leadership. I concur with my colleagues. And the chair is open for a motion to accept as presented the Baltimore County Electoral Plan. So moved by Member Jackson Stanley. Is there a proper second? It's been properly seconded by Member Butler. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It is moved with unanimous consent. Thank you so very much. And now, Lexi.
Up
Frederick.
next, we're looking at Frederick. So there are 5 early voting centers. Those are 2 new ones from 2024, but one of them was used in a prior election cycle, so it's not new. For ballot drop boxes, those are going to be the same number as 2024, but one has moved its place. And for polling place plans, the number of individual buildings has decreased since 2022, but it remains the same from 2024, as well as the number of polling places. You see that decrease from 2022, but it is the same from 2024, and we are recommending that they be approved.
And Lexi, was there a significant amount of public comment regarding these changes?
No, not that I'm aware of. We haven't received any public comment that hasn't been shared.
All right, thank you so very much. Wanted to make sure. Any questions from the board? All right, hearing none, the chair is open to a motion to accept the Frederick County Electoral Plan proposal. So moved by Member Butler. Is there a second? And properly seconded by the Vice Chair. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It is approved with unanimous consent. Thank you so very much, Lexi. On to Prince George's County.
For Prince George's County, they have 13 early voting centers. That's an increase of 2 additional early voting centers from 2024. For ballot drop boxes, they have 39 total. That's the same as 2024, but one of them has relocated. And then when you look at their polling place plans, the number of individual buildings has remained the same since 2022, but the number of polling places has decreased by 2 from both 2022 and 2024, but we are recommending that their plan be approved.
All right, thank you. You have a question from Member Butler, or there's a question or comment?
Pretty much the same thing. They have 47% that are not in their polling places, in their precinct.
Okay.
Very interesting that the voter turnout is above average where the area is the most underserved. So all these areas out here in the white where there's no, the voting is higher out there. So I just, it's interesting.
It's a curious question.
I know.
Do we have the director available? I mean, that's a curious question, Member Butler.
Yes, I'm here.
All right. Your floor in honesty bade to address Member Butler's question and concern.
Absolutely. So again, with other counties as well, there are no places to put the polling places within those locations. We have tried and we look every time. We actually, in 25, we went through every polling place and we visited it and resurveyed it to see if we could move some of those. And there are just no options within the precincts in the lower areas in the county.
Thank you, Wendy.
You're welcome.
I don't want to miss anyone. Thank you so very much. Are there any other questions of the director from Prince George's County? All right, hearing none. Again, thank you very much, Wendy. Again, Morgan, Lexi, was there any public comment regarding the changes and the decreases in locations?
And not that the state board has received them.
Okay. Well, I have the director here. I do have a question. Did you receive any public comment with regards to the changes being presented today?
No, we have not.
Thank you so very much.
Mhm.
All right. With that being said, the chair is open for a motion to accept the election plan from Prince George's County. So moved by the vice chair. Is there a proper second? Been properly seconded by member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It's so moved with unanimous consent. Thank you so very much. Greatly appreciate the efforts. Thank you, Wendy. All right. That concludes our election plan approval section of the agenda. We are now on items 12 and 13. To a certain degree, we'll be dealing with policy directives from the State Board of Election. The item number 12, and Jared, you're going to walk us through this, is policy 2025-04, election judge parity report policy.
Yes. So this is a very simple policy here. It's just requiring that the election directors, that when they assign these election judges, that they're supposed to achieve parity to the extent practicable in each of the polling places. And to assist in the recruitment of election judges, we want the election director to provide a vacancy report monthly to the local board members beginning next month. The vacancy report should just be a statistical report, which includes the polling places and the party breakdown by election judge type, so that as you are direct conduits to the political parties, you can help the local board themselves can help with filling in the vacancies. So this vacancy report should give them a monthly breakdown of party recruitment for election judges to help fill vacancies before any sort of deadlines occur.
Thank you. Are there any comments before? Yes, Member Butler. You're on mute if you're talking. We can't hear you.
Thank you, Chair, for writing this up. I appreciate that. My one question is as it says, to the extent practicable, should it just say as per state law? Or do you think the extent practicable is it's just kind of odd verbiage for that?
I guess I pulled that from state law, so it was just the policy is still the policy is more now to that the local board members are going to receive these reports.
Okay, yeah. Okay. All right. I didn't have time to look up the law, but I was wondering. Okay, let's just find the way it is. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions? Thank you for the point of clarification, Member Butler. All those in favor, the chair is open for a motion to accept the policy update. So moved by the vice chair, is proper second, probably seconded by Member Butler. Thank you very much for your continuous service and hand raise. Anyway, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. All right, we have unanimous consent. Thank you so very much. All right, now moving on to old business. So guys, thank you so very much for getting us through that hefty agenda with regards to our regulations and our election plan. It does help us to maintain democracy in Maryland and to move our electoral process forward that is secure and accessible via all eligible voters in the state of Maryland. On to old business, policy 2025-03, PSR request policy. And Jared, could you break that out as far as the acronym for the record?
The PSRs are basically our voter registration list, public disclosure of our voter registration records. So that's I forgot what what exactly the acronym is, but that's what it is for. So this is basically different from public information requests because certain things are supposed to be redacted from regular public information requests. So this is just saying that the following information will be redacted for any voter registration application to be released publicly, which would be your driver's license, social security number, your personal phone, your personal email, and the agency in which the voter registered through or updated their registration through. This is now to clarify and to make sure that we have consistent releasing of information from the county to the state and throughout Maryland as to when a person requests voter registration applications or information about a voter file. So this is just to create a uniform policy. And then additionally, it is just making sure that what is being charged across the board is also being uniform, whether it's in one county or if they request it at the state, the charge is the same for the voter registration lists.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a Member Butler, and then I'll come to the Vice Chair. Member Butler, your question.
Dan and I had an interesting conversation about this, and then Vicky and I also did. So we chatted about the different things. It's confusing in here because the first part is talking about individual voting records, and that's PIA request. The second part is talking about the voter list, which is PSR request. I think if we changed the title of it or changed some of the wording in here, we could make it better than it is, because it is confusing and people are not going to understand what you're saying because it's different. Individual voting records are the PIA request. That's the whole top part. And we don't have any problem with redacting any of the issues or any of it's just the verbiage is not correct. And so if you just if the policy 202503, it was individual voting records request policy, then that would be fine. And I would take the very last sentence out. The individual records request will be charged as a countywide request after 2 hours of data gathering has occurred for a request that sends multiple requests. That would go with the PIA stuff. But the PSR is the voter registration list, and people need to know the difference here. And I didn't, and so Dan had to explain it to me, and it's just not written quite well. Could we fix it?
We can fix the title if the policy is acceptable.
Yeah, I think if we fix that, and then that I don't have any problem with it as long as we fix it so that people understand the difference, and just change PSR to voter registration list, and then you can put PSR and whatever. And I would put that with the bottom two, and then move that one sentence up. Then I think it makes sense. Other than that, it just was. I literally had Dan. I got laughing about it. It was just it needs to be fixed a little bit. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Member Butler. Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Jim. Jared, is what's disclosed codified in law? In other words, the underlying materials in this policy, are they codified in law?
Federal and state law.
So why I've said this before, why is it necessary for us to have a policy when the law states what we can give out and what we can't?
Because right now it's just to clarify for voter records that it's not falling under the regular Public Information Act exemptions, like for example about citizenship, right? Or checking the box. And this is to help make sure that we are uniformed in our approach with voter records, which is different and under a different law. So this is to help the local boards and everyone know, because not everyone is going to go and look up what MVRA allows or under the Public Information Act, what would allow. This having a clear policy that allows the public on our website that they can just go and reference and understand, oh, this is the policy, And then we can, if there's challenges to the policy, we can show them the underlying law. But this is to help clarify it and allow for, I would say, non-legal people to understand what they're entitled to get.
I've raised it before. My concern is when there's a law that outlines what we're doing in a policy and we create a policy, doesn't that open us up to litigation, concern, criticism, as opposed to just pointing to the law? And then it's not on us. In other words, are these policies duplicitous and unnecessary when there's a law we can point to and say, hey, that's the law, exclamation point. Does that make sense? In other words,
Again, I think this is just for clarity's sake and allowing people to understand what their rights are. But I can let Dan answer the question as to if it opens us up for the litigation. I don't believe so, but again, I will defer to Dan.
otherwise, people can attack our policy, but they can't attack us for the law. And that in today's world, I think it's just safer to say, hey, there's a law. We're following the law, as opposed to where we have a policy, people can attack our policy, but they can't attack the law
So,
to
Mr.
us.
Vice
You
Chair,
know what I'm saying, Dan?
yes. And let me ask you, when you say we are following the law, who's we?
The Board of Elections.
Right, the State Board of Elections.
Yes.
But we need 24 local boards of elections to do the same thing that the State Board of Elections is doing. This policy is not to create new law. It's because there is an open question. I wouldn't say it's an open question, but the state administrator is correct. There's a meeting point in between the NVRA, a federal law, and the State Public Information Act about what an election official has to disclose when opening up a voter's record, right? And this policy that we're putting out is SBE drawing a line at that meeting point, a circle at that meeting point, and saying, these are the 5 things, the 5 things in that policy are the 5 things that the NVRA, the federal law, does not have us disclose, and that the PIA protects at that meeting point. And if we were only talking about SBE, we might be talking about one thing. But because there is a question about that meeting point, and we need all 24 local boards to have the same answer because all 24 local boards get record requests, we wrote a policy. So to give you a more direct answer, no, the policy does not simply restate what the law is. The policy is this board's interpretation of where the NVRA meets the Public Information Act. And the policy is written out and being asked to be enacted here so that all 24 local boards do the same thing when they're asked the same question.
They're required to do what we dictate in our policy.
Yes.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Vice Chair, very much for the inquiry. Member Butler.
I just had one more comment too that I had forgot earlier. Just the one statement where it says no one should be dissuaded from registering to vote because of the fear of identity theft or unwanted intrusion. That's like a personal opinion that needs to be removed. We're talking about a policy and legislate, it doesn't belong in there. This is not for personal opinions. We're trying to talk about the fact that, federal law does this law does that, this is where we're going, and that sentence should be taken out, as well as changing the title so that and fixing the other fixes that we had. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Butler, for your insight and direction. So this policy will be amended and re-proposed at our next meeting in February. Everybody all right with that?
I got the sense that Member Butler was ready to proceed on the item subject to those adjustments delegated and directed to the staff.
All right. And with that,
So I
Member
just
Butler, we
want to be
need to
clear because
be clear
I
on the
think that the last
proposed
time,
changes.
sorry, Mr. Chair, I just want to be clear because the last time it seems like I had a directive that I didn't have, and I want to make sure that I'm not being subject to some sort of unwritten directives or things that I don't understand. So at first, I understood that we were going to change the title of the policy, but not necessarily the crux of the matter here. Now, we're moving or we're deleting sentences about protecting, individuals' rights because they might fear that their records might be disclosed in a way here. So I just want to make sure that is it the board's prerogative now that we should remove that sentence, or is it, are we keeping that sentence in? So I just want to I want to be clear about this because, like I said, it seemed like there was some in the past. The directives weren't as clear, and so I just want to make sure when it's
Understood.
back out.
Understood, because it sounds like the request is to amend more than just the title, but also to clarify federal and state requirements to segregate or separate them in the document. I heard that as well. And that's why I proposed that it come back, because there is going to be a little bit more work on this, especially with the concerns that have been brought forward by the vice chair. But I think we are getting there, but I don't want to proceed where there is still some ambiguity with regards to the intent of the policy, but also recognizing that there is language being asked to be stricken, which moves more so than beyond a simple fix, because there is language that is in question. So beyond the title and beyond the structuring. So to give us a little more time to work on it, I don't think this would log jam our efforts at reconciling the need to move with uniformity pursuant to these requests. So with that, I saw Member Butler's hand first, and then Member Jackson Stanley.
Thank you, Michael. I agree. Just, let's fix it correctly and then we'll vote on it next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Jackson Stanley?
Yes, so I also agree. Looking my notes, I'm a note taker like almost said the wrong name. I'll say
Member Butler.
Sister Butler.
Yeah.
I'm a sorority girl and I got sorority stuff in my head. I apologize for digressing. Back in December, when we discussed it back then, I was under the impression that we were standardizing what we were to do for every jurisdiction, with the goal is to have folk go directly to the State Board of Elections. In my discussion with Member Butler, I'll say it right this time, she was telling me that I was incorrect in my understanding of that, but that's what I wrote. So if there's still misunderstanding, then I agree, maybe we should delay this. I don't believe it's going to impact our constituents too much to delay. I do have a question. Member Butler wanted to change the title. Am I talking with her earlier? What was the suggestion of changing the title? And secondly, does the law say no one should be dissuaded from registering to vote because of fear of identity theft or unwarranted intrusion into their private life? One question is to Member Butler and the other is to Jared. Is the last line part of the direction from the feds? And Member Butler, what was the change of title that you were thinking we should go with? I didn't get that from you earlier.
Thank you. Member Butler, and then Jared.
It's individual voting records. So the policy would be for the individual voting records request policy. And that's considered the PIA. And that would be for the top half of it. And then the bottom half of it, as long as we move that one sentence back up into the top part, because that's a PIA request. When you're just picking up one or two different people, that's a PIA request. The PSR request is the voter registration list. So I like it written out, the voter registration list in parentheses PSR requests are countywide. So it's two different things. We could either, make them two different policies or just put them both in one, as long as we're
Clear.
delineating what's happening there.
I agree.
And on my end here, it's just that, with the idea of identity theft and that people are now more worried about intrusions into their private life by getting records, that basically this is to help, again, alleviate those fears from people or from being dissuaded from registering to vote. And that it was just kind of a public pronouncement that, yes, these are public records, but we are protecting a lot of your PII, which is personal identifying information, from public disclosure.
Follow up, please. So the statement of no one should be dissuaded could really be extracted and put as a justification later on.
Yes.
That could be sort of a compromise to make sure we say it, we recognize it, but to be part of the policy, it does seem kind of
Okay, that's fine.
loose.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Member
you.
Butler.
No, I was just agreeing there. It just needs to come out of there. It's not part of the policy. And we're not trying to get people to think about the fact that their their information can be stolen. We're not trying to upset them. We're trying to just put the policies out there so that the boards know what they're doing. And instead of you get personal things in, it just doesn't quite work. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, the collective deliberation has been great, and I think we've come to a resolve to move forward. So thank you also very much for your commitment.
Thank you.
Now, with that, this will be presented, and we put on hold and presented in February with those updated changes. But also, I want to make sure that our vice chair and everyone involved as well is clear that the idea is to bring about uniformity to safeguard those 24 local, because we are in this together with them. And it's not just for the state Board of Election, it's also in our due diligence and safeguarding our local boards who do a lot of the brunt of the work on the front end. All right. Thank you. With that, we are now at new business. Is there Mr. We have Vice Chair for new business? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. As we all know, pardon my voice, it deteriorates during the day from the flu. We all know that mail-in ballots, which is the bulk of our voting system, is determinative if the ballot is postmarked by Election Day. That's the key barometer whether a mail-in ballot is to be counted. Recently, the United States Post Office has set a new policy that when mail is delivered to a post office, it will not be postmarked. It will be postmarked when they process the letter or package. And that's a big problem for us, because if people's mail-in ballot is determinative on the postmark of Election Day or before, now we're not going to know if that happened. We could get a postmark that's 5 days after Election Day, but how do we know that it wasn't delivered to the post office on Election Day? And that's a huge problem, because we're not going to have a finite answer whether a ballot is timely, because we're not going to know when it was postmarked. And that's a huge problem, especially for military ballots. We have some voters on nuclear submarines. They can't get out. They can't get to a drop box. You can put a letter in a ballot in a mailbox safe. They also say that if you vote If you mail a letter, you can, at the post office, when you mail it, ask for a postmark. But that's going to be hard for a B-2 pilot on a 30-hour mission, or one of our voters who's assigned to a 6-month deployment on a nuclear submarine. But I don't even know how we get mail into a submarine or out. But anyway, I think this is a huge problem that we have to dialogue and digest. Because to me, the definitiveness of a postmark is gone. And that's a huge issue, especially with our mail-in component. So I just raised that as new business. I'm sure that Jared and staff and hopefully the legislature is looking at this, but could be a huge problem and subject to attack. I mean, if a ballot is counted and it's postmarked after Election Day, I can see challenges galore as to whether it's a valid ballot. So I think we have to do something about the postmark issue. To me, it's a huge problem. Anyway, I just throw out that bad news on new business. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair, for effectively using new business to bring up such compelling information and new insights. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
For emergent issues. Member Bryant and then Member Butler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I started this meeting talking about how much I look forward to learning from each of you. And this, I continue to learn. Most recently was with respect to what the Vice Chair talked about. I'm up to speed on the United States Postal Service issue and the postmarking issue, but I wanted to just buttress what he said as it relates to the havoc this decision has the potential of wreaking on the mail-in voting process, but more specifically, talk about the potential for litigation. And what it reminds me of, Vice Chair, is back in the days when you said there was a common folks patent. If you had an idea, you would mail it to yourself and put it in an envelope, and it would indicate when you had that idea, and you wouldn't open the envelope, and it would, be proof of you had the idea first. So what could end up happening is people go to the post office on what we've traditionally called Election Day, or what might be deemed the voting day of last resort these days, and then take a picture of themselves, putting it in the mailbox and having that be dispositive proof of a date and time through the camera or camera phone. So my major point and most serious point is to support the Vice Chair as it relates to the havoc that this decision has made, and then as a corollary, talk about the litigation it could cause, because if somebody had the proof that they put it in, what would be the underlying result? So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Thank you, Member Butler.
A couple different things. I just want to ask, we were going to take the last meeting, we didn't do a whole portion of the director's report, and I had questions on different things in that. Are we going to address that maybe in February, or when are we going to address that? And then there was the question about the audit. What happened to the audit? I had no idea that we had decided not to do the audit, because that's part of the same audit of, the portion that we failed is with the list. So I would like to get some of these questions answered. We can put it off because I know it's a long meeting today. We can put it off till next time, but I do have questions from the ones that we put off last time, and then we were supposed to do them this time, and I guess we forgot to do them. So there was just a portion of the information that Jared didn't bring up, and we weren't allowed to ask questions about because we didn't bring it up and we were too busy.
Well, I don't know if you weren't allowed, but I hear what you're saying. I think we asked for expediency, but I don't know if you weren't allowed. But aside from that, we always have any additions to the agenda. So at the beginning, and yes, you also are allowed to ask our administrator pursuant to the report. I think you said director's report. Are you talking about the administrator report? I don't know about a director's report. Jared's report, so the administrator's report, you are open to ask those questions during the report. Don't think anyone stifled anyone from asking him questions to a report that he emailed out either a week prior or 3 days prior to for review. So the abbreviated summary was for the sake of getting to the questions and so that we could also address the rest of the agenda, not to stifle the board's interaction with the administrator.
Just trying to figure out the right place of when do we actually have this conversation?
During the administrative report.
So
I'm happy to answer any questions.
But if you have any now, it's fine to present them now under new business.
Okay. All right. So I've just.
But one second, I'm sorry. I know we were dealing with Jim's issue, the vice chair's issue under new business. Are we moved? Does anyone else? I want to make sure no one else has anything to add to that before we close, before we get to the close. Okay, Diane, I don't mind bringing, allowing you to ask your questions of the administrative report from the last session.
Okay, so I'm going to ask them now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, during the just so you know, you're Susan Greenlaw. You had her name. You had a thing that you were doing in the public. The voter education program. Can you explain to me what that is? Because I'm kind of concerned about having a voter education campaign, and we hired a company that's a Democrat lobbyist to do voter education. I'm a little confused on that. Because
it's a nonpartisan voter outreach program that we tell people about making sure that they get registering to vote when the dates are for early voting and when election day is. We also talk about the different methods of voting, making sure that they understand that they can vote by mail, they can vote early, and they can vote in person on election day. And so it's a simple ad campaign of voter outreach. It was quite successful last time in 2024. And it's the same campaign that we've done this time around as well. And we're now doing a election judge recruitment campaign. And these are all voter outreach campaigns, that are required, especially the outreach for election judge recruitment is required by law.
Okay. And then I think that might be. And when we use ERIC, when we use ERIC all the time, can we put a caveat in there that only 50% of the states use that? We use that for reasoning all the time, but I don't think people realize that only half the states are being used. And that's so people can understand why we have questions and why we're looking to get better ways to keep the list clean. I'd like to put that in there when we start using that. And then we had talked about all the changes for the provisional ballots, and were you able to get all those changes in that we discussed?
The provisional ballot application is having more information than ever before for as to codes, right? We're making sure about that. Most likely, it's talking about the why a person is actually trying to vote provisionally, and we're trying to figure out the root causes for that.
Right.
So by drilling down and having a little bit more, we're getting that there, but that should be in the applications.
Yeah, and I remember we were working on that, and you had some changes you wanted to make. I was asking if you got them done.
Yes.
Okay. And then the audit. What happened with the audit?
What do you mean?
Why did we push it back? It's normally done after the presidential election because you're not quite as busy when you're going into the gubernatorial. If we push it back till after the gubernatorial, then we're going to be into the presidential again. We're going to have new voting systems.
We can do comprehensive audits of every local board, and before and after every election, we perform our internal audits as well. Are you referring to what are you referring to the Office of Legislative Audits, OLA? Or what type of audit are you referring to? Because there's numerous audits that we keep in track here, and that we make sure that our elections are safe and secure. So, we audit the local boards and we provide those audit findings to the local board members and to the election directors.
that you sent to the board members. There was a letter you sent to the board members that you had asked to move this audit 16 months back, and you sent it to all the board members before this meeting. And so
That
I'm
was
asking.
OLA, the Office of Legislative Audits.
Okay, could you
And
explain
we're in the middle of an election.
So why didn't we do it after the presidential when we were supposed to?
They are the ones that scheduled the audits. They scheduled it, and we asked for a delay because we're in the middle of an election season.
So OLA scheduled it. It's not something we would normally do, because I thought normally we always do
No,
it, right?
it's OLA. They do it on their schedule.
They schedule it, and now we're moving it because of the election. Thank you very much. Okay. OLA schedules. Okay, thank you.
Well, Jared, you asked for it to be rescheduled, and they may or may not have granted it. So we can't just, we can't, it's not a one-sided rescheduling. Is that right?
We asked for a delay because of the amount of resources that it takes to do an audit, and with the election coming up, and they granted that the delay.
Okay, thank you.
So yes.
All right. Are there any further questions? No. Okay. Thank you very much. And we do have a guest speaker, a speaker to address the board today. Kelly.
I unmuted her so she can talk.
All right. All right. Hello. Are you able? Well, David, we can't hear. Okay, Kelly Foster, thank you so very much for joining us and your request to address the board and make a comment. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Kelly Foster, and I live in Frederick County, Maryland. I wanted to thank you for the opportunity to make public comment today. I attend many of the Frederick County Board of Election meetings. Over time, I realized that decisions were being made in executive sessions after the open meeting was completed. So I began filing complaints with the Open Meetings Compliance Board. The Compliance Board found that Frederick County has violated the Act 6 times. In a recent opinion, the Compliance Board declined to find the Frederick County Board of Elections in violation when they did not provide documents which they planned to vote on during the meeting. The Compliance Board declined because the Act does not cover local boards of election. The Local Boards of Election Transparency Act became Election Law 2-208 last year and requires local boards to provide documents they plan to vote on during meetings. I'm asking that your board remind all local boards that they are required by Election Law 2-208 to provide documents to the public before taking a vote. I request that your board remind the local boards that closing statements are part of the public record and should be provided to the public when they are asked for. Recently, Howard County would not even respond to my request for their closing statement during a recent complaint to the Compliance Board. Transparency is essential in elections. Secure the Vote MD requested parity information on election judges from all jurisdictions. Only a handful of jurisdictions provided information. MPIA requests were ignored by many. 2 counties required payment of more than $300 for the list to redact personal information, while others provided the information for free. So I asked, where's the equity? I requested parity information from Frederick and was originally told there was no responsive document. When I pointed to Election Law 10-203, I was told that the board has delegated the approval to the election director. This seems to be a clear violation of election law and potentially the Open Meetings Act. Frederick was not the only county where the board never voted to approve election judge parity lists during the open meetings. Today, I'd like to thank you for addressing the election judge parity with policy 2025-04. Can something be done about Open Meetings Act compliance for local boards? Our group has found that there are over 30 Open Meetings Act violations throughout the state of Maryland for election boards. Thank you.
Thank you so very, very much for bringing that to our attention and your time and commitment to this effort. And if there are any questions, respectfully, for the presenter, please indicate by raising your hand or requesting. Audience. All right, hearing none. Thank you so very much for joining us today and providing your valued comments. With that, anything from the board before moving on per those comments?
No pressure.
Member Butler?
So when people speak, do we respond in writing to them when they come to our board?
You can, or I just opened it up for questions if you had it. But yes, you can respond. They provide written testimony as well.
Okay, and at what point do we discuss this as a board?
No, I mean the floor is open now.
Okay. So
if you want to discuss it at a later date, you can always add it to the agenda, those topics that were brought forward under new business.
Yeah, 'cause I think this is one of the reasons that I worked with Senator Kagan to get the open meetings, is so that have the respect, that get the respect that they can be part of this process. And I think it's really very important. And I know that some of the boards are working hard to, catch up to the new rules, but we do need to take this very seriously.
Duly noted, and I greatly appreciate it. All right. Moving on, are there any disclosures of campaign contributions?
No, sir.
All right, hearing none. Thank you so very much. Scheduling next meeting for February. Keeping in mind, try for the Thursdays. We try for Thursdays, the third or fourth Thursday of the month. How does February 19th at 2 p.m. look for everyone?
I can do that. I will be out of town, but I can do that.
Can you repeat that, Mr. Chair? I want to get my calendar.
February 19th at 2 p.m.
I'm available.
Thank you.
I'm available.
Thank
I'm
you.
available.
Thank you. I think Diane is going to make accommodation. I mean, Member Butler is going to make accommodations. Vice Chair?
Works.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have Jared. Any conflict with with your office?
Nope.
Right.
All good.
February 19th, 2 p.m. 2 p.m. All right. With that, we will be having a closed meeting following this open meeting, and of which we will we will not be coming back after the closed session. The chair is open to a motion to move to closed session. Is there a motion? So moved. Is there a second? It's been properly seconded, but it was moved by Member Butler, properly seconded by Member Jackson Stanley. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. It is unanimous that we will be moving into closed session for the purpose of statutory authority. This meeting will be closed under General Provision, Article Section 3-305B. Two, consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. Also, 2, before a contract is awarded or bids are opened, to discuss a matter directly related to a negotiating strategy or the contents of a bid or proposal if public discussion or disclosure would adversely impact the ability of the public body to participate in the competitive bidding or proposal process. Also, to consult with staff, provision 8, to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. All right. All right. So, thank you all so very much. And we will meet back for our closed session. We will meet back for our closed session. And so it's 3:30 now. I know people might want to break 10, 15 minutes. How much time do you need? I mean, we're doing pretty good on time. At least per our past meetings. So are we 10 or 15, do we need 10 or 15 minutes?
15.
15. Believe me, I understand. Thank you. That's why I asked. I didn't want to rush, have you running all over the house. Just trying to get back from the 10-minute break. So 15 minutes, folks. Thank you for your judicious behavior and commitment today. I greatly appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
See you in 15 minutes. We are adjourned.